everybody, and welcome to the big one. This is our Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Impressions podcast. I'm your host today, Alec Bobko. I'm joined by our wonderful panel, Jordan, Chris, and Bret. How you guys doing tonight?
I don't know how my eyes still work. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm too busy playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, available exclusively on my Nintendo Switch.
Legendary. Doing legendary.
Yep. I mean, Jordan, you say that, how your eyes are wondering how to work. Legitimately Sunday or Saturday night and Sunday, because I was sitting, it's so hot here in Michigan. I had my fan blowing with my door open at my apartment, and because the fan was, I legitimately sat for 8 hours and just played Tears of the Kingdom on Saturday, that it legitimately dried out my right eye. Because the fan was just blowing on that side of my face constantly. It I looked in the mirror and it was like just red.
Dedication, baby, dedication.
Exactly. I played 9 to 5 on Saturday, like a legitimate 8 hours straight.
Yeah,
I think between from when I had got Friday, because I had Friday off, and because we're recording this Tuesday, so I wasn't able to play any today. I think I've gotten about 25 to 30 hours in just these few days.
Yeah.
I could probably check. I've got my Switch in front of me here.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I think it has to be like a week or something like that before
First
it shows.
played 4 days ago. Damn.
Yeah, I think it's like a week to 10 days before it'll start showing how much time you have.
Yeah, I probably have like 15 hours in. So
yeah, like 15 to 18 I think is about where I'm at. I put a decent chunk into it on release day. But I haven't been able to dedicate that much time to it since then. Mm-hmm. But enough to where I've experienced a good deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm clocking in time right now. I genuinely cannot put this game down.
Seriously,
every second of the day, I just want to be playing Zelda.
I have a dish or a sink full of dishes. My apartment needs vacuuming.
Dish full of sinks.
And I'm like, but Zelda. Like on Sunday, I forced myself to vacuum around where I'd been sitting the entire weekend and just eating snacks, and also was like, hey, no soda or juice today. And then yesterday I worked from home, so there was a little good change of pace there as well. But I still have shit to do around the house. But I'm like, but fucking Zelda, man.
Yeah.
My apartment has gone into decay.
Yep.
Much like the weapons of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off with Jordan. Let's start off with your first thoughts of the game. We're gonna try to stay away from spoilers, so no need to worry there.
So I mean, I'm not super far into the story anyway. I've done one of 4 big bosses and did half the plot of another thing, but I kind of just really got, of course, in this game, lost in doing everything else. I mainlined the story a little bit more just to get a couple more things that I would need along the way. You get the paraglider way later than I expected.
That would be a big tip I would say for people is go until you get the paraglider for the main story, then start doing your exploring.
And last night, I was like, I am going to finish the rest of the map and maybe even the glyphs. And then I found a village overtaken by bogoblins and they kept killing me. And I was like, I am doing nothing else until I kill every single... I will not be satisfied till I have every single one of their heads on a fucking spike. And so that took most of my night. And then I got just a couple more. So I'm really having fun in just building the dumbest fucking contraptions. This is Wright Brothers Simulator 2023.
I'm sending Link to the moon in this game, dude. I'm gonna make it happen.
When I first found a steering stick, 3 hours were gone. I was like, I finally found one, because that's I think my bigger complaint, my biggest complaint of this game. I was like, I think you should get that as an item much earlier, just because I wanted.
Interesting. All right.
And I say complaint very loosely.
I still haven't found them.
I found one, and then I was able to and once I experienced it, I was like, this sucks. And then I found a few more here and there. But no, 3 hours gone, just me trying to build the coolest fucking thing on the wings. And then I found yesterday I found I was doing things in the sky where there was like pre-built generic flying machines to get from island to island in this one archipelago. But like I would like combine the first two, use that to get to the place I want it to be, and then take the best parts of that one and combine it to the next. And I continued that chain until I learned there's a limit to how much you could attach using Ultra Hand.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I have not hit that limit.
It was a platform. I put 9-10 fans on it because there was 6 along the sides, 3 on the bottom, and then 1 tilted backwards. I put 6 out of those 10 fans had battery cells on them, 2 rockets on the side, and then I kept trying to add more, and they were like, no.
Like, you can't. That's enough.
Yeah.
Oh, so 9 things to 1 object.
Yes, I put 9 fans on 1 platform, and then put 6 cells, a steering stick, and 2 rockets. And then I sent it to my friend before takeoff, and he was like, arrange them like this. Try this for a second. And I really just wish I just saved, tried my way, and then tried him as if it was like a flight test of like, test 1, test 2.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the best version of cartoon physics I've ever seen. So, I mean, I'm having a blast with the game. And I don't really know what else. It's so well made because, again, it reminds me of the discovery I had playing the first time where, like, if you think it makes sense, it probably works. And
they thought of everything.
Yeah, and I'm learning new shit every day.
Oh, yeah. Like, legitimately, yesterday, I was driving home from work, listening to KFGD, and Blessing was just like, oh, yeah, to get, like, air, you just use that, recall it down so you can get on it, and then go. I'm like, why did I never think about that? Yeah. Like, ever since I heard that, I've been using recall and, like, kind of those ways to use stuff as, like, a platform. Yeah. Or there's one shrine. I didn't realize because I just thought it was like one of the shrines was like the wheels, like the ones that just roll or like the axle rolls. And you're supposed to use that to get it across gaps. Well, I was being stubborn and I didn't realize those were like the wheels were something you could activate. So I'm like, how do I make this thing go? How do I make this thing go? And I didn't realize that until like the last room. So I'm literally like brute forcing these with Ultra Hand, just making them go across so I can use them as platforms.
Was it like lava that you had to cross?
There was lava, and then the last room was water with a current coming at you.
I think I might have had the exact same problem where I was like, it won't go forward.
Yeah, and then because like the middle part is like a section with a slope that has like a bunch of like things going sideways up, and yeah, so the last room is just water with current coming at you. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just use the wheels. And I realized I could hit them now to make them go. And I'll just do that. And it was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, so that's not what I'm supposed to do. And I could not figure out for the life of me. So I go back and grab more wheels thinking, oh, it just needs more power to go against the current. And that didn't work. So what I do, just use Ultra Hand, build a bridge. They give me enough wood pieces. I just built a bridge across it. So it's just crazy that they give you all these powers, and as far as I'm aware, they're not like upgradable like the powers were in the last game. It's just these are the powers. Yeah, just go and have fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun seeing like how people come across these solutions differently because like both in a way that makes me feel like a genius and a dumbass, where like I did a shrine yesterday where the shrine was teaching you how to use the Zoni items that basically stand things upright, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so what they wanted you to do at one point was like fling yourself over one cage to fling a ball over it, but then that ball would land behind another one, so then you needed to fling yourself again. And these things are also attached to platforms that are straight and then have like a little lip to them, kind of like a short L. What I did is I lined it up and climbed over the cage and got the ball just over the first set of bars. So I was like, what's the point of the second cage? Like, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is what they want you to do, because I stacked the two things together and they weren't enough for me to catapult myself over to the shrine. I didn't realize that you're supposed to use the lip as the ramp. I was just hanging it off the edge.
Oh, yeah.
And so I combined 3 of them and just got to that shrine without even need the glider. Like, it just sent me there.
Like, that's just the funny thing with Ultra Hand in this game is just like, can't get there, just build the bridge.
Yeah.
Like, that's the solution to like 90% of things in this game is just build the bridge.
Absolutely. I'm having fun with Fuse as well, just seeing what works together well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's really cool is using broadswords and attaching a claymore to it, so you get the extra power, but you still get like the broadsword, so you can still have your shield out.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
See, I've been attaching 2 spears just so I could like get these guys from a fucking distance.
Get the range, yeah.
Dude, yeah.
But no,
right.
yeah,
Bret.
that's me.
Bret, let's give us your initial thoughts.
Dude, this game sucks, man. It really does. No, I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because some people don't like it. And that, not every game's for everybody. But for me, I always held Breath of the Wild as, depending on the day, one of the best games of all time, or the best, depending on how I feel about just the game as a whole, or certain mechanics, or stuff like that. And so obviously, I'm sure how we all felt, how do you follow up? How do you follow up on that? Like, that's so hard. It's easy it's quote unquote easy to do something once. I mean, Breath of the Wild's freaking phenomenal, but how do you follow up on that and make it like kind of like with Survivor? Like, they could have just made it literally just saying just more
again.
It could have just been more content, but the way they evolve so many of the systems and the game design with everything, like the Ultra Hand is kind of like the Magnesis, right? A little bit, but a little bit different. It's perfect. Like, it's so amazing. The game looks as great as ever, in my opinion. And people were like, I know people online were like, man, this looks like a PS2 game. So I'm like, nah, dude, this game rules.
Haven't seen PS2 games in a while.
This game flat out rules. Yeah, the new abilities are like evolutions of abilities we've already used, but even in a smarter way. Some of the new ones feel like they're am I supposed to do this? Ascend? I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. How do I get out here? I'm like, oh, I can just go through.
I forget Ascend.
I can go through the ceiling.
I've forgotten that I have that ability is absurd.
How quick you can actually get to places when you have Ascend.
Dude, insane. Oh, again, because that was a quote unquote small problem is you're trying to explore Hyrule and then you get stuck in this impossible climbing situation if you don't have the quote unquote stamina and stuff like that to do it. Well, now you don't even need that. You can just literally shoot yourself through the walls. Some of the ceilings can be miles, dude. I don't know how it works like that. So,
if the ability is if the ceiling is close enough for you to jump through, it doesn't matter how thick of a thing it is, as long as it's clear on the other side. It's absurd.
Yep.
It feels like it feels like you're cheating, but I don't know. It's just so cool. And the quality of life updates, when you pick up a shield and you're like, I don't want this shield, or you want to swap it out, it instantly lets you do that, without having to go into the menus. The new music, some of the new story stuff is really cool. And then, just again, they recapture the magic of exploration, right? That was a big part of Breath of the Wild is, hey, what's over there? Oh, hey, I'm going here. Oh, wait, what's that over there on the right? Let me go check that out. And then,
and you're there that way for hours and hours and hours.
I did that the other night. Again, they recapture the magic. Even the starter island, you're like, okay, how do I get across this river? In any other game, that would be super boring, but in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it works. They get you to do that stuff, and it's incredible, man.
Yeah,
easy.
Yep. Alrighty, Chris, take a little break and let us know your thoughts.
Well, I'm not taking no break. I didn't hear no bell. I'm in the middle of building a long bridge.
He's fighting a boss goblin right now.
To go on your point though, Jordan, real quick, solving puzzles imperfectly. Like I feel like I've MacGyvered the crap out of every shrine. Again, the new shrines feel like, again, I don't want to just be like, be a prisoner of the moment and be like it's better, but like they feel so much more inventive this time around. Versus like
I'll say it, they're better.
Less gimmicky, more puzzle based.
Yeah. Like I don't want to like be a prisoner of the moment, but there's like this one puzzle shrine where I don't even know what, like when they give you like 8 things to work with and you somehow do it with like 3 and you're like, am I supposed to use these other pieces here? I kind of like whack this thing to hit this like gong, like
yes. Okay, I have a story about that one.
I was like, bro, did I just play baseball? Like, what's going on?
So when I first landed in Hyrule and I got to the first like little thing that gives you a bunch of wood and wheels, I thought you were supposed to use everything to build a little car. And I was like, what the fuck is this thing supposed to look like? Before I think it kind of dawned on me, like, you don't have to use them all. But I don't know why I just expected them to. And so that's why I kind of disagree. I think that these shrines are less puzzly and more gimmicky, but I say that as a compliment, where to me, a puzzle has one straight correct answer. If we are giving you this problem and you need to follow the steps of A, B, and C to get it. Like when I think of a video game puzzle, I think that there has to be, if not one answer, at least just a very limited number of answers. But people are practically cheesing these games with the right mix of abilities and ideas. And I think that Nintendo knew that. Like, there's no way they knew, like, anything we give is going to have multiple answers. And I think that's why the puzzles might be more, in a way, abstract. But if you're also doing it the way they want you to, especially in the shrines, you're learning something. You're learning about how these objects work, which I am annoyed that when you pick up a zoning item for the first time and it's not one of the things that come out of the dispensers, that there is no explanation as to what it does. Because I've looked at things, I've been like, I don't know if you're a weapon or a tool or you're something else completely. And just see what happens.
You mean like
just turn them on, see what happens.
Yeah, you just gotta whack it and see what happens.
But some of them, like, they just turned on their side, and I was like, so like, again, it wasn't until I used the shrine that I fully understood how that tool could be used.
Which is probably the point, right? Like that's intentional. I'm sure is to kind of get you into shrines, because a lot of the shrines feel like they're tutorial isn't a word, but they are teaching. It's showing you how tools, like these tools, can be used in different ways, and then you get unleashed back out into Hyrule to go wreak havoc upon the Koroks. Like, it's really good.
That has been the funniest thing to come out of this game.
It's so good. It's so good. All right, I'll take a break. I'll put this down.
Dude, shout out to Addison, man.
Oh no, Chris's Switch broke.
I just knocked a bunch of stuff over on my shelf, but that's fine. So let me tell you about the Legend of Zelda, shall we? How I feel about the Tears of the Kingdom. I need something to lean on here, right? Just this little, this old thing that I found. I don't even know what it is. So,
is it all busted up?
Actually, is it charged up like in Wind Waker?
I've seen that before. It's a rusty broadsword.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them. I don't have a boulder on the end of it yet, though, but I can't wait to put one on there. Just shove a piece of meat onto a sword, because you can do that with a game. You can just be like, I want to fire an eyeball arrow.
I will Venmo you $5 to go into your backyard right now, tape a rock to that, and come back in.
I don't have any rocks outside, but I'll make something happen.
Some great content there.
Oh God, that's a great idea. My kind of like initial impressions is I think we covered it earlier. I got like 15 to 17 hours or so. I would say maybe a little less, because Switch doesn't track these things very well. Breath of the Wild wasn't just one of my favorite Zelda games. It became one of my favorite video games like ever made, and that's a really, really high bar, because Zelda has been like a really, really, like most of us, I think, like in the kind of the gaming sphere, like Zelda has a really special place in a lot of people's hearts. They're always like fun stories, really imaginative adventures, and for a lot of people, especially like millennials, like Zelda was like the bar set for AAA gaming, especially if you look back in like the N64 era and stuff with Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. And for them to be able to put out something as monumental as Breath of the Wild was in itself was an achievement. It wasn't just a great Zelda game. It was a redefining of what an open world game is in a market of just a sea of other open world games to the point where people are fatigued on them. They're tired of them. We're sick of seeing these. And Nintendo said, okay, but what if we did a Zelda one and just completely change the way that open world games can be looked at and played and discovered. And there is that sense of discovery and adventure in a video game, unlike anything that I'd ever played before, right? So where, you get your glider, you get off the plateau, and then you're just unleashed upon the world, and you can be like, okay, now go do whatever you want. Solve things however you think you can. Nintendo thought of everything. There's nothing that you can do in that game that Nintendo doesn't have a response for. And I was like, I was in a weird spot when Tears of the Kingdom was coming out, because I was like, yeah, I love Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna play it. It's Zelda. I played every Zelda game, right? But I wasn't like through the roof hyped about it. Like my most anticipated release of this year was Jedi Survivor, then Street Fighter 6, and then Zelda. Like I'm excited about it, but it's more Breath of the Wild. That's good. I like Breath of the Wild. I'm excited to play more of it and have like a new story around the context of it. I didn't watch too much of the promotional material, right? Like I watched the trailers, and I saw the memes from Nintendo's like 40-minute playthrough, like gameplay thing that they did, right? I didn't watch that whole thing though. I was like, I'll play it, whatever. It's Breath of the Wild. And then I got in it, and the crafting opened up, and you get off that initial sky area, and you're back at Hyrule. And I don't know how they managed to capture that feeling of just pure like joy and exploration again. But they did it right, without changing as much as you might think. There was all of that fucking it's just a DLC. These people haven't played the game. They have no idea how different this game is. It is not the same map. Don't listen to anyone who tells you that. But then they added more on top of it, and then they doubled the map below it. It's literally 2.5 times bigger than the first game.
Yeah.
Like that's
which
absurd.
I did not know about that part. Like I knew about the sky. I did not know about the other part.
Yeah, that was
a surprise to me.
That wasn't advertised at all, other than
until yesterday. I literally saw a tweet before we recorded that Nintendo put something out about the chasms. So
yeah, and like I obviously I wouldn't call this
the IGN review spoiled it for me. They straight up be like, yeah, just wait until you get to the chasms, and I went, the what?
I legitimately like stayed away from reviews. I listened to about a few minutes of one review, and I'm like, nope, I'm playing this tomorrow. I do not want anything like majorly spoiled, so I basically from Thursday when the embargo dropped, I'm like, just stayed away from social media.
Yeah. And so it's like you finally get out there, and something that I really liked about Breath of the Wild that some people had criticisms before was that the world felt too empty, right? Was that it's like, yeah, it's big and you can go anywhere, you can do whatever you want, but there wasn't enough reward for exploring in it, which I disagreed with. I was actually like, no, I felt like I was pretty rewarded for exploring a lot of stuff, but there were some open spaces, but that was by design. Nintendo said, all right, bet. Literally every square inch of this game is hiding something somewhere. And I was like, I don't know how they managed to pack something so huge into the game, because again, you have Hyrule, you have underneath Hyrule, you have above Hyrule, you have 4 like temples, which are like traditional Zelda dungeons in the game on top of that, which was a criticism that a lot of people had of the original game. You have
biggest criticism of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you have more story this time, and I think the story so far has been much more engaging than it was in the first game. I'm actually following it. I couldn't tell you a thing about the original.
Dude, there's some nuggets. There's some nuggets, man, where I'm like, what the heck, man? What are they doing?
Yeah, dude, it's fun. It's wild. About? It's real off the wall shit. Like I'm really, really enjoying it. and then it's like you take these new abilities, which I think are like obviously like the thing that's being showcased in this game, right? Is the fuse and the ultra hand. Like that's why you play this game.
Yeah.
Is to strap 12 fans onto a plane and see if you can fly up to the moon. You know what I mean? Like, right? Or load or build a rocket and send a Korok into space. Like, and I saw somebody do a literal like 2-stage rocket to where the first one's fired and then it broke off and then the second one fired. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they legitimately used an arrow to shoot off the first section.
It's really good. Yeah. And it's just you have all this stuff and it's just or again, like somebody like threw a stick, used the rewind ability, and then quickly placed a platform on it so that way the stick came back up and followed its trajectory up, and they rode the platform up so they could grab onto an island above. And I was like, that wasn't even one of the ones that fell. Like, he literally just threw something and then reversed it and rode it up. I was like, that's fucking wild. And I didn't even know. I never in a million years would I thought.
What I thought that the power of this stick can lift up an entire platform.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a million solutions to every single problem in this game. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't think I've solved a single puzzle in its intended direction. I think loosely because all of these things work. Like, Nintendo was obviously ready for that. I don't think this game is anything short of an absolute miracle that it runs as well as it does.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty. It's a mostly stable FPS.
They're freaking wizards, bro.
Switch. Like, how did they do this?
How?
The physics
it blows my mind.
Which clearly shows the Wii U was holding Breath of the Wild back.
I would argue
it's not even that different from Breath of the Wild, though. Outside of because it's the same physics engines and stuff. Like, I mean, just like functionally from the bottom, like it's the same engine.
Well,
hold up.
Different though.
Why are we trash talking the Wii U, man?
Because it deserves it, Bret. Because it deserves it.
No, because like literally, like if you go to watch tech breakdowns of this game, it's like pretty similar to Breath of the Wild on Switch. So I think it's more of a Switch hardware thing than anything. But the fact that
the Switch hardware is like 2 generations behind, like everything else that's out. How did they get this game to run this way?
Yeah.
Oh, it's magic.
A full-on physics game, because like I saw a video where somebody was like, you get off of like you don't have any of the fans attached to like the wing glider thing, and it just continues to glide on its own. Like, so it's a legitimate physics engine they have in this game. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think there's a physics. I see what you're saying. I was like, technically, there are physics engines in every game.
But like, this is
I know what you mean, though. It's very much like, hey, what if Gary's mod was Zelda? That's what this game is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and then also there's a story there, a really good one at that so far. Voice work is, again, I think my only complaint with the game is that the voice acting is still a little.
Nintendo has a long way to go with voice work, generally speaking.
I mean, they got the best in the game though. They got Matt Mercer.
That's true.
I haven't heard him speak yet, and I'm so sad.
And you haven't heard Ganon speak at all?
No.
Oh.
He speaks at the beginning, but
does he?
Chris is still on the first island. All these stories he hasn't left.
when he's still dehydrated, sure, but that didn't sound like Matt Mercer.
He's still exploring that. Yeah,
it was super warped.
But yeah, like Chris,
you're right though. He does speak at that point. Yeah,
you talked about like the game kind of says go and do whatever you want, and I've talked about in other content before how sometimes games that give me too little guidance don't stick with me because there is a bit of, I guess, overwhelmingness there, and then I just at some point like don't see the end goal. Like I've talked about trying like a world and trying No Man's Sky and that being the thing, but there's enough in Zelda that you are supposed to do and enough of an established lore and world that I think is just engaging enough for them to say, do what you want, but here are the things like you can kind of do to warm up to doing to get what you want. And so it becomes me being like, today I want to do this part of the story, or I want to do the rest of the towers, but the adventure I have getting there is the fun of it.
So I've thought a lot about that this weekend. And so I have ADHD, and this game is a nightmare for me in the best possible way, right? Just in terms of like, even while I was sitting here playing for like the 15 minutes that I was supposed to go to a tower, and then I went, ooh, there's a shrine over here, and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna go fight these guys over here, and ooh, what's that? I haven't seen that before.
Yep.
All on my way to go do something else, and so I'm with you when I say that it's like usually when a game like cuts me loose, I get overwhelmed by the choice of it, and I just kind of don't want to do anything. Right? It's a lot of times I end up dropping games like that. But when I think of other open worlds versus Zelda open worlds, because I'm just going to classify it as Zelda open worlds. Nintendo already said it. Like, hey, yeah, Breath of the Wild is the blueprint for Zelda from now on, which is rad. I think what the difference is, if you look at traditional open world games like Assassin's Creed is always like the first one that comes to my mind,
games.
or like Ubisoft games, kind of in general, right?
Or Witcher, even Witcher,
especially Witcher in this term, in that they give you a list of things to do, and a lot of times you can encounter them, and this is the problem I had with Horizon too, is that it's like, here's all of the objectives you have to do in order to get to the next one, and sometimes they're level gated or whatever. But what it is I see a checklist of things that I have to do in order to progress the game, right? It's nothing is really going to happen in the game unless I complete those objectives. What makes Zelda different is that the adventure isn't in the objectives. It's I really like the way you describe it, is that the adventure is that is what happens on the way to go do these things. You're not given a checklist of things to do. You are given guided stuff to be like, hey, here's places you need to go, check these out. But everything else is something that you find. Right, it's something that you stumble upon while you're out, and just out of natural curiosity, you're like, oh, I'm going to go into this cave, and then you find out there's frogs in there that drop things that you can trade for at this town that you were at not too long ago. And it's like, sweet, every time I see a cave, I'm going to run in there and shoot the frog real fast, and it is similar in terms of just that it's like, yeah, here in both styles of these games, they say, yeah, here, go do your thing, whatever. But there's something that feels more organic about it in Zelda than it does anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yep.
It reminds me of that clip from Malcolm in the Middle where Hal walks in and sees that a light bulb's out, so he goes to grab a light bulb, but then the shelf isn't working. Like, and it ends with him like having his car up on a jack, just has oil all over his face, and Lois goes, Hal, can you change the light bulb? He goes, what does it look like I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the door hinge, and then he's like, oh, fine. He pulls the shove, it doesn't work.
And then
he goes, oh, and then he goes to get tape, and then the door falls off. Oh, yeah, that bit's so good.
Yeah, and that's really what it's like.
So
Like,
good.
I am still getting to my objective of finish the towers and unlock the entire map, but on my way to this tower, I found
like
3 shrines. Yeah, and like,
yeah, exactly.
what's funny is that style of gameplay has always actually, and for context, I've only played 3. This is now my 4th Zelda games, but in the story of Zelda games, when they're like, oh, to get to the final end, like in the beginning, they give you like a story where you're like, you need these 3 pieces. Then you find out to need 1 piece, you need 3 smaller keys, and then and you're going back and forth between the same islands or groups, and like, I've always enjoyed that in the sense of like, I understand that's the point of this, but it is always sometimes annoying where you're like, all right, I got these 3. What is the next one gonna copy the format of the other 2? And they're like, oh no, this one actually has 2 branches that you have to do. And so like, it's annoying but expected. This one, that format is just your mind and how you choose to play. Because like, you could truly just choose to mainline the story and do nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that. On release day, somebody beat the game in 94 minutes.
That's true. If you know
You
where
can
to
just
go.
run straight to the castle.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, you can just be like, fuck it, I'm fine. Bring me Ganon. Let's go. I'm ready. Rolling in there with a rock and a tree branch.
Yeah.
Like, bring it on.
You guys fought him with pants?
Yo, they give you that skirt at the beginning of the game and
Yep.
not a shirt until you get like off of the island. That for the longest time
Yeah.
I was like, did I miss it? Like,
Yeah.
like, is there more?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to give mine. So if you've seen my episode of Origins, which RIP that series, but Zelda's always hold a special place in my heart. Like, it's legitimately, Twilight Princess was the game that turned video games from just like the hobby of me, like, oh, it's what I do like in my off downtime, whatever, to something that I am legitimately passionate about. And it's been that series, like go-to series for me. Like I legitimately went back and I was always that person that played like a Zelda game once every year. Most times it was Twilight Princess, just because that's the game I knew like backwards and forwards.
Good ass game.
Because I actually had the guide for it, so I legitimately like back when I first had it. So just that game.
Man, you guys remember strategy guides? Oh. I had the Ocarina of Time one back in the day, dude. I was the envy of all of my elementary school friends.
I had one for Skyrim because the person at GameStop basically was like, yo, this game is huge. You might want this. And then I was like, I'm not flipping through these fucking pages and table of contents. I'll just Google the fucking mission I'm on, and there's a wiki. So this was a waste of $30.
Mm-hmm. But there is no way that Tears of the Kingdom won't be my game of the year. Like,
I had the exact same thought. Yeah.
This game, it just turns Breath of the Wild up to 11, which is already Legend of Zelda turned up to an 11. Like,
it's turned to 22.
Exactly. But they just take everything. Like, I know we've already said all this, but like they've taken everything that was built up so well in Breath of the Wild and just perfected it. And I've legitimately, like, there's been a couple frame drops I've noticed, but no bugs, no crashes, no nothing. Like, it's been running damn near perfectly. And it's just legitimate. I don't know how you can design a game that has so many like unpredicted like aspects of it. Like to have all these puzzles that are essentially open-ended.
They're daring you to break the game.
Exactly. Like, and most games, you think about it, they have the way to do it. And that's why guides exist. Like, to help you. Like,
yeah, because there is a solution.
Yeah, even comparing it to like past Zelda games, it's like, hey, if you want to get this key to unlock the door in this temple, you have to do this specific thing.
Yeah, you got to run into this room and just shoot the eyeball. That'll take the bars off the door, and then you go in and you kill the second Korok first, and then the third one, and then the first one.
What Breath of the Wild did for games, Tears of the Kingdom is going to do exponentially. Like, we're going to be seeing more games that have open-ended solutions now.
See,
I hope so.
So I think about this a lot where people are like, this is going to change games, or games can learn for this. That always scares me because personally, I'm always worried games are going to, or gaming companies to say, are going to learn the wrong lessons where some executive is going to look at
what was that fucking Greek god Breath of the Wild ripoff?
Immortal Phoenix Rising.
Yeah,
I heard that one like from people who played it, liked it enough, and like thought it was good on its own merit. But like, I don't want some executive being like, Fortnite's the biggest game in the world, and now the kid's like this solution. Every game needs crafting, and suddenly I'm playing Spider-Man 3 for some reason has me in a workshop for whatever fucking reason putting things together. Like, I want people to, part of learning lessons, I think, is also learning what not to take away from something. Yeah. And like going back to like a Spider-Man example, like in that lull between all the Arkham games and Spider-Man 2018, and every time a superhero game was mentioned, people were like, they should just copy Arkham. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because I don't want every hero fighting the way Batman fights, but should they make a story that is all encompassing, not tied into a movie that uses the rogue galleries of these heroes really well? Yeah. Same thing with this. I would love more open-ended solutions. I don't want every game to become do whatever you want per se, or build anything that can come to mind with the technology of this world.
Right. But like for me, like the fact that like there's so many times where I feel like a genius in this game, but I also feel dumb because there's times where it's like a solution comes to me instantly. Like, oh, I just need to do this, 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 and this. And there's other times I'm the shrine that Bret brought up earlier about the swinging out like the baseball bat. Like, to me, I'm sitting there looking at this, like I see what I need to do, but like how do I do it? I'm sitting there just spinning my wheels. Like, so
Long
what
bridge.
I do, I mean, kind of what I did was stick the ball to like all these poles and like use Ultra Hand to like push the ball into the target. But you need to push
brilliant.
It. But it didn't work because it needed some force behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there sitting there like, what the heck do I do? And like, meanwhile, like the ball is just one of those like it just rolls down the ramp constantly because it falls down the hole and then it respawns and just keeps sliding down. And I'm like hearing that in the background. I hit one of like the little pillars that activates the switch, and I'm just hearing that go back and forth, and it's one of those things like it just clicks like a light bulb, and I'm like, oh, this is just pinball. I use the two little poles and use
that
the
one.
into the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, I wish the Switch could record a bit longer than 30 seconds because I tried recording that because you could legitimately see in my gameplay that aha moment of where I finally understood what I'm supposed to do.
Second.
Exactly, yeah. And this game is just that in spades because there's times where if I do need to look up a guide, I don't need to follow the entire thing. I just need to like get me started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To get like that first step of like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Like,
so it's almost like looking for inspiration. It was just like, I just want to know
exactly.
like how you got here. Like, I don't need the step by step. Just like, how'd you start?
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
I've looked up. There was one shrine I was so ready to look up before I was like but I was on the phone with a friend who was also playing, and that's something that I did a lot this weekend was just play while someone else was on the phone also playing.
Yeah.
And kind of as I spoke what the puzzle was, it kind of clicked maybe what I was supposed to do or how I was supposed to do it. And then the only other one I looked up was the one that I've heard a lot of people have had trouble / found ridiculous ways to get through, and that's the one with the rails and having to get to the other side.
That's the only one I've looked up.
So the only reason I looked that one up is because that was Sunday where I was like, hey, you do have work in the morning. To wind down, you should just finish this shrine, turn something on, and get like watch one thing and get to bed. And then the only other reason I looked it up was because I didn't have shields that were good enough, and I was not good enough at rail grinding on the shields to just make it. So I was like, what is the solution to this? Because I've seen a lot of people just be like, I just threw shit together and made it, and my balance wasn't 100% right. And I was like, oh, I would have never thought of that on my own. Because I was thinking about it without spoiling it. I was thinking about it upside down in my head.
I just you need a bit in the middle, and I didn't have that, and that's what kept fucking me up.
Yeah.
Eventually, I saw the thing and I went, oh, yeah, that was. I was like, that's a way to do it. Okay.
And that's
I desperately looked around for a minecart so I could just stick it.
Yeah, that's the thing is I didn't have anything like I now have a shield with a minecart, but I was also trying other stuff where I was like, fuck it, let me just build a fire with a lot of updraft and glide to the other side. That didn't work because it's really far away. But I did just spend 20 minutes. Like I made this joke on Twitter later, but I was going to make it at this point where like on my 9th try and I just built another thing to launch me off the rails. I was like, this is what the Wright brothers felt like because I'm just like trying these different formations of fucking planes, trying to get across to the other side. And I was like, all right, test number 5. We're learning what we learned, or we're learning from our previous mistakes.
We'll get there someday.
Basically.
I'll say in my time playing this game, one of my just super minor gripes with the game, with when you beat essentially the powers you get, like, you know, in Breath of the Wild, you had Rivali's Gale, you had the Goron block, I forget his name, and then Mifa's Daruk, yes.
Daruk's
the one,
protection.
and then you had Daruk's protection, yes. And then Mifa's grace essentially was revive you. All those would happen with like controls that was already in the game. So like, you know, Rivali's Gale, you just had to crouch, and then, you know, it would bring you your updraft and launch you into the air.
Yeah.
This game, the way it handles the powers, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
Because you have to go into the pause menu to activate it. Granted, it's super quick to do it, but it's just one of those like,
and
this kind of takes you out just for a second.
Yeah, and so far I only have one of the powers. To avoid spoilers, I won't say which. And with this power, at least I'm noticing I can just keep the power activated and then just use it when I want. And it actually kind of helps. Again, I won't get into spoilers.
The same goes for the second one.
As to how it works, but like there's a way to just keep them around. But you're right that it is sometimes. I do wish that there was a quicker, like, withdraw and recall mechanism for these powers. And like, I feel like the bottom D-pad didn't have to be the whistle. Because I feel like that is what that would have been perfect on the D-pad.
How about they switch the controls where like Magnesis was up on the D-pad and now it's like L? And I keep hitting.
Oh my gosh, I do that all the time.
I keep hitting up, and I'm like, why am I pulling out an eyeball?
I haven't played Breath of the Wild in like 5 years, so the new controls were like, I'm like, yeah, no. As far as I know, these are the same controls, and don't ruin that for me.
Yeah, I guess that's another, minor gripe is just a little bit more of accessibility. I know it's Nintendo, but like it is 2023. Like, let's remap some buttons.
Yeah, or even just quality of life, because I am noticing the controls are almost just awkward enough. Like I'd say what I would want to change more than the powers, just because something excuse me, just because something I use more. I wish there was a way to let go of something in Ultra Hand without turning Ultra Hand off.
Yeah.
Like that's one.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
That was annoying me. And like, here's the thing. I think this game, I know this is not a formal review. I think this game is like a, whatever you're going to say, like 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever scale you want to use. Like, I think this game is incredible, both objectively and just fun.
7 out of 7.
7 out of 7. If you're on the 7 point scale.
Solid 22 out of 22.
But I feel like any criticisms I have is me criticizing a masterpiece game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think anything's above criticism, and I don't think criticism knocks something down from being extraordinary or a masterpiece.
Oh yeah.
So like those are the things I noticed where like even Ultra Hand, sometimes I'm like, I wish it was 10% less free roam, or at least there were like some fixed places where like when I want to put a fan on a wing, sometimes I'm like a quarter inch off and ends up completely different. And I wish it was more like, hey, there's fixed places to put things, but like you have 100 fixed places.
So something with that. It is. So what I would say, Jordan, turn off motion controls, because I was doing that when I was trying to fight a boss, and
mine are off.
Okay, because I was gonna say I was having a hard time with aiming.
Fair.
And it turns out it was like my hands were just moving a little bit, and that was just making my aim just move a little bit from where I was.
I will double check, but I'm pretty sure I turned it off, because as a rule with the Nintendo games, I'm not a big fan of the gyro controls, especially when I'm playing docked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it for aiming with the bow.
I do like it, but it was one of those when I'm trying to make that like precision shot. Like, so there's these enemies. I won't say what they are, but it's a group of 5 of them. That it's very
holy
scary.
shit. The Power Rangers are in this game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But you have to. It's one of those enemies that you have to like defeat all of them quickly, or else they're just going to absolutely destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some bomb arrows, and essentially I had to get around one of them. I had to. There's it's called gloom essentially, and what it does is it doesn't deplete your health, but it takes away your hearts, so that way you can't fully recover.
Mm-hmm.
And this room I was in was covered with that. It had some open spots, so I had to essentially, and they spawned in the center of the room, so I essentially had to be to like this corner of the room in the safe spot, but I had to hit this certain one so it would hit all 5 of them at once. And there's so many times, because I didn't realize I had the motion controls on, that I would be aiming at what I needed to, but because the motion, like my hands moved just ever so slightly, it hit the wrong one, and I would end up blowing up or freezing myself when I was using a sapphire, because I was caught in the blast radius and I would die.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those, like, if you're having a hard time aiming, maybe turn off motion controls, because if you don't have super steady hands, it might be causing you to.
I do also want to shout out. I know a lot of people's like sticking point with Breath of the Wild was like weapons degrading, and it wasn't my favorite thing about Breath of the Wild, but it was fine. I actually really like the way they implemented it in this game, to where weapons just suck now.
All the weapons suck.
Yep.
All weapons are bad. There's a lore reason for that, and it forces you to interact with the fuse, right? To make sure that you have powerful weapons, to experiment with the things that you're picking up, and that's normally something I probably wouldn't have touched otherwise.
Because when you fuse a weapon to something or something to like the original thing is still fine, and that's a way to keep the core. Because this broke me of like the Halo power, like the you get the rocket launcher in like Halo 1 and you're like,
Right.
oh man, I gotta like
I'm
save
holding
it.
on to this forever.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, dude, just use it.
Use it.
Let it break.
Yeah, so
Let it break.
so Breath of the Wild broke me with that, but this is like I feel like a good balance where it's like, hey, you should be fusing everything because that way, like again, when I replayed Breath of the Wild before Tears came out, especially at the start, you know, again, it's a minor
rough.
gripe. That game's a masterpiece. I'm like, bro, I have like 2 weapons and there's like 8 macablins jumping at me. Like, again, you have to run away, so that's fine. But like,
Yeah.
The progression of that is way easier now in this game, and I like that so much more. But yeah, the fuse is incredible, man. I love it.
It's a really really great system in something that normally would have kind of been like a sticking point for me to where it's like usually this sort of like crafting things in games I don't like to mess around with too much, right? Like it's not usually my favorite thing, but with this kind of like essentially like forcing me to get into it, and I don't say forcing is in like a negative context. I like that it's like I have to think about what items I have on hand or nearby, and what I have in my inventory, and it's like, okay, well, do I need something that can break rocks, or do I want something to fight like enemies with? And it's just it's brilliant, man.
And
it's,
always gotta have one
brilliant.
of the rock hammers on hand,
or axes.
Genuinely,
axe swords are close enough. It might take like another swing or two, but yeah.
I think what works, because Chris, I'm kind of with you, where like I'm surprised that I was okay with the weapon degradation in Breath of the Wild and in this game. And I think what it is that the game is so well built around that mechanic that I am playing it going, I accept it here, but this is not a trend I'd want to see in every game.
Right.
Yeah. And I think what causes a lot of other games to fail is that or not click with me in terms of that type of mechanic is that maybe they do rely too much on you gotta be scarce with everything. Whereas this one feels like you could be like, hey, these all suck. They're all gonna break, but there will be more around the corner at some point.
Yeah. It's there's not a point where it's like occasionally I'll be like, oh darn, I don't have very many weapons, and then I'll come across, I'll turn a corner and be like, things I can use as weapons, like
yes,
it's plentiful.
The underground really did a number on my resources, and I kind of had to leave the underground and be like, I gotta find shit. Like,
so speaking of resources, I got these for Breath of the Wild. I got these amiibo cards. So they're essentially, they have all the Zelda amiibos, Legend of Zelda amiibos, and what's cool that back in Breath of the Wild is that each of them kind of had like a specialty like items. Like they would give you a lot of like the generic like resources like herbs, meat, fish. Like what's really cool is that being the theme, the Wind Waker themed amiibos would give you fish.
Well, you can. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But what's cool about having these, they also work with Tears of the Kingdom. Kind of do the same thing. So use the amiibo, a chest and some resources fall from the sky. And is it cheating? Possibly.
It sounds a little pay to win to me.
But what's cool though, but what keeps it from being like overly like, you can't just like keep stacking resources. You can only use them once a day.
Yeah, my friend was using them when he was on the phone with me.
Also for those that might not be aware, like
if you're using like Zelda amiibos, you can get like armor costumes based off of the games they're from as well.
So what was cool, yesterday I was using these, and from the Skyward Sword amiibo, I got the what's called the Goddess Sword, but they call it like the White Rose Sword in Tears of the Kingdom, but beginner sword from Skyward Sword.
Nice.
So it was like a 24 base power sword, which is like awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah. What I'm noticing that's like really good weapon for sword strength is the Bogoblin arms when you fight the skeleton ones.
Yes.
Those things.
Fuse 2 together.
Oh, I fused 2 together and I just got one fucking long arm. I really, really wish that the picture for it was the 2 arms holding hands and that you were just fighting with the blunt side, but I get it.
Yeah. Or it could be the one is holding on to the other.
Yeah. But I just think it'd be hilarious if it's just that they were both holding hands. I also attached.
If they were there like just
Yeah.
shaking hands, yeah, that'd be great.
I've been attaching stuff to other things just to see what happens, and like some of them are like certain weapons when equipped to shields do a lot of cool things. I tried equipping an arm to a shield, but it didn't do anything. But I thought I'd just have a shield that would just like nab at the other enemies.
Oh.
That'd be so good.
just boop them in the nose.
I had that one Zonai sword with like the bomb on it, like, and I swung it, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I have to like eat it away.
Yesterday,
Like, oh shit! Yeah.
So yesterday when I was at this village that took me multiple tries, because this is basically like you stumble across a few enemies and you find out that it becomes labeled as a boss fight, but there's like 5 different groups of enemies on this section of the map that have taken over a town. And I was like, I got to look through my resources, try a different thing of attack. And I had gotten a cannon from one of the little gumball machines in the sky. And I was like, I wonder how the fuck this works. And I attached one to the sword at one point. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But I died. And I was like, I wasn't getting a good aim on the sword. I put a cannon on the shield. Oh, those bogoblins didn't know what, and it was great because some of them are on a pirate ship. And so like the theme there was just on point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're getting pretty long in the tooth, or whatever the saying is. We're been here a while. Long in the tooth. Thank you.
Got you, baby.
So let's start like wrapping up here. Some final thoughts, whatever you want to talk about this game. No spoilers, obviously, but
we really haven't talked about the soundtrack yet.
Oh my gosh!
And a lot of it's a holdover from Breath of the Wild, which again, that music, when replaying Breath of the Wild, I was like, yeah, this is amazing. Like the way it affects the way you feel. If the music can do that, then that means it's succeeded. Yeah. But yeah, the new music, a lot of the new music in this game is like incredible. Like all of the like.
The thing that sticks out to me is like it's much more varied in the instruments that it uses.
Yeah.
It's not as piano based. Which is
a lot of drums in this one too, which I loved. And like, I don't know how to explain it, but anytime it's like anything Ganon related, it's like that, like reverse music. Like it's like, so, cause they use it all over the place and it's like super unsettling, but that's effective.
Oh
obviously.
yeah. Like the
point of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just like the song that you get when you complete a shrine where you get the dong and then it's all like reverse sounding and weird. And I'm like, this is rad. This is so cool.
For me, the piece of music that hit me the hardest was when you're in Rito Village. Like it's just this super soft theme. And I'm pretty sure it's just Dragon Roost Island.
It's Dragon Roost Island. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
it's Dragon Roost Island slowed down.
Super low. Like you can barely hear it, but it is just one of those, like, if you know that song, you know that song.
Yeah, it's
and
a
it's just one of those
touch.
like, it was just so well done. Like I legitimately got chills. Just like I'm in a piece, like I don't say cutscene, but just dialogue where you're talking back and forth to like the Rito leader, and it's just like I could just leave this here and just vibe to this.
Well, I was like, I want to go to like a symphony or whatever, dude. Like,
just
like live. Yeah, man.
On that note too, something cool is I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I want to preface this with, do you guys primarily play in handheld or on TV?
Docked mainly.
Oh, TV.
Yeah,
TV.
Okay, so
I did play a bit last night handheld.
So you guys might have seen this more than I have because I play primarily in handheld. Which was when occasionally most times when you're cooking something, Link will hum a song, and every single time it's always songs from Ocarina of Time, and it's always the it's the actual like button inputs for the Ocarina songs from that game.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you hear him do like Epona song, it's always the you know, like that sort of thing. And so I was like, and outside of, I think he's also got like a short version of the like the Legend of Zelda theme as well. But the rest of them are like Ocarina of Time songs that he hums, which I thought was really cool. And it's always just whatever the melody is that equated to the button input, which I thought was great.
Because I'm playing docked, but I'm using my Pulse 3 headset from PlayStation.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
because
it's got Bluetooth now, don't it?
Oh no, because it just uses the dongle that plugs into the dock.
It's just USB
dongle.
Dongle. So before we go, I suppose this will be my last comment, and we can go around. But I wanted you guys to know the unfortunate thing that I had to come across, and now I'm going to ruin the game for you guys. Okay, which is I didn't get it at midnight. This is the first physical game that I've bought in I think 6 or 7 years. And like Zelda's like the only exception I take for like physical copies these days. And so I went and got it on Friday after I had taken care of some personal things around the house. And while I was in line at this GameStop at like 2 p.m., this GameStop was packed, right? Like there were 20, 30 people in line at 2 p.m. on a Friday. I was blown away. And so while I'm in line, I'm scrolling on Twitter. My entire TikTok and Twitter feed is Legend of Zelda, right? And has been since Friday. And I'm minutes away from purchasing the game, and I see someone on Twitter be like, Tears of the Kingdom is really cool, but I really hate the Goatsy shrines. And now I can, and I've gone in. That's all I can see.
I noticed that too. I think I saw it, then I noticed it, and then I sent it to a friend. I was like, "Do you know what Goatsy is?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "I'm gonna ruin it." But I described it, and then then 10 minutes later, I went to the Goatsy website on my phone. I was like, "Do I just send this to him?" But I was like, "Nah, Apple's gonna open up the fucking thumbnail and the message. It's not gonna be as funny." But yeah, no, they're Goatsy shrines for sure.
Yeah, so I've never it's been stuck with me before I purchased the game, and I'm so mad that it's like I saw this minutes before I bought it. I was almost at the register, and I saw that, and I went, "Motherfucker!"
You didn't get a single shrine that wasn't corrupted.
Nothing, dude. Nothing. The internet ruined it.
I do want to say, to go off of that, like, seeing everybody go to physical game stores again was like such an awesome experience. I was like, do I like I already bought this game. Like, do I buy it again to like go so I can wait in the midnight line?
Yeah.
Like it was so cool. Like, and then going to like Target and GameStop, like on that Friday, because I played it Thursday night, / Friday. And like it being sold out at this like Target that I was at, and then this like GameStop that I was at, like, I'm like, how often does that happen anymore that something sells out?
I went to Walmart first and it was sold out, and I went into the GameStop next door, and I was like, wow, man, like this is not an experience I've had since Smash 4 on the 3DS, when I spent all night driving in a place that fucking had Smash in stock.
And what's hilarious to me about this is like I'm one of the people that's still holding on to physical copies. Like God of War, Pokemon, Mega Man Battle Network were all physical games that I bought, like just big ones in the past year. That's not even thinking about the depths of my purchases. Like I just buy physical games nowadays still. But I did the voucher program, so this was the one fucking game I've gotten digitally in recent. I mean, Survivor as well, but like it's rare for me to do that, and like this is the one time that you motherfuckers show up. I'm there every midnight that there's a game release, and I'm alone.
Zelda's the one exception because it's like I replay Zelda games. I'm gonna go back and play this in a few years, right? Like I know I am. It's like I don't want to risk. I know they're not going to deal with fucking Zelda, but it's like if something, the 3DS store just went down, eventually the Switch store is going to leave, right? Like you have the Super Mario 3D collection, which just doesn't exist online anymore.
That one I got
like
as well.
They obliterated it.
I was considering buying 2 copies of that and leaving one sealed and being like, in 20 years, you're going to get Daddy a car.
And so and Zelda games never drop down in price ever. And retro since the COVID, like retro gaming prices have gone like through the roof too. So I was like, I want to make sure that I own this game and I have it, and I won't have to try and rebuy it for like $150 like years down the road, right? Like this one's here and it's mine. But this is genuinely the first physical copy of a game that I bought since maybe like 2017.
Yeah. Now that I live like further,
whenever I got Breath of the Wild.
Now that I live further away from malls and shopping centers that have Best Buys or GameStops in them, I've been buying more digitally just because like I'm so fucking antisocial. I don't want to leave my house. I grew up like 10 minutes away from every store imaginable in my hometown. I was like kind of in the center. I was like, everything's between 10 to 20 minutes away. It takes me 20 minutes just to even reach the parking lot of the mall, let alone fucking going in and all that. So I don't want to deal with anybody. Spider-Man 2 will be a physical copy for me because I'm getting that collector's edition. But what I want to end this on and like just ask you guys, what is the best, I'm leaving the word best up to interpretation, thing you've built in this game so far?
I have an answer for that.
I'll go first because I'm not like, again, I see all these people doing crazy stuff online and I'm like, it's like, man, I wish I was half as creative as you guys are. But basically to get to like a watchtower, which like scans the maps, right? Like I like built this like super long bridge with just planks.
Yeah,
and
long
it was
bridge.
like way too long. I was like, can I keep attaching this? Like I thought it was gonna be like 1 or 2, and I'm like, I put like 8 pieces, dude. And I just leaned it up against the tower and then I walked. It was like wobbling too and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, hey, this works. So that was something that I was like, okay, hey, I did it. Let's go.
Yeah, for me, I haven't done anything like super complex yet, just because haven't quite unlocked a ton of the pieces. But the one I'm actually a little proud of is I made a little like the boat with like the fans on it, like you see like in like the Everglades or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So I basically did a plank and then some fans there, and essentially made one of that to go across in the depths across all the gloom.
Oh, you can fucking use a boat over the gloom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fucking avoiding that shit like I'm playing The Floor is Lava, the video game, bro.
Well, then, yeah, you're supposed to, but it's just, again, physics. Like, you just use fans.
I thought they ate everything they touched. Do you know what I mean? I was like, damn.
No, yeah, you can ride vehicles across gloom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
Yeah. So.
Now, what I've made isn't something that. Oh no, I posted a photo of it on Twitter. It's not, to your point, Al, I'm not that creative, so like my shit's not all that like crazy. But I did take one of the birds, and then I just put everything that was kind of on this skyline that was available on this island that I was on, Skyland. I put it all. I put everything onto this bird. So there's like 4 fans, each one of them with a battery hooked to it. There were 2 rockets, and then one thing that I hadn't seen, and I still haven't seen since then because it just kind of explodes. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it is.
Is it the time bomb?
First time no, it's square and looks like a rocket, but it just like blows up out the back. I don't know what it's called. The one time to your credit, where you're like, sometimes I just find like the Zonai stuff that I don't know what it does. And so that was one of the times where I hit it and then it blew up and killed me and I had to start over.
That's what I mean.
And then I found a handle and I put that on there too. And so combined with the combustion engine or whatever the fuck that thing was with the rockets and then the fans on it, I was on this Skyland and I put the bird on the edge and it literally fired me off so fast that it threw me off of the thing.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
So I took the one thing off of it and did it again and it worked and I'm a genius and I love this game so much.
Yeah, no, that's been my favorite part, is just building the dumbest shit.
Let me tell you, there's a power that comes in handy a bit later that makes machines a bit easier to build.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
So I'll leave you with that little tease. All right. Any last second thoughts before we leave?
Jordan,
I'm going back to playing it.
Jordan, do you have red lights because you want to team up with Ganon like I do?
Oh yeah, no. The blood moon just hit my
hit
my house. But you know what? Like, it takes any man can walk through Hyrule, but it takes a special man to do it under the blood moon. You know what I mean? Just lay down some towels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.